No offense, but I require you to live your best life. Yeah. I do, because you're living in this life with me. You're in this space. I want the best version of you. I don't want some half-assed version of you. I want the best. I deserve that from you.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Matt, for anybody who does not know me already. And to my left, I have a very special guest who has decided to join me today. He is an ex-professional baseball player. He's the founder of the Real Successful podcast, and he is a long-term friend of mine for actually 7 years. I just did the math. I'm not a big math guy, but we met when we were 17, and we were actually both at the same baseball camp for the school that we went to. So, Colton, for the people that don't know who you are, go ahead and give a little background on where you came from and how you ended up at USD.
Yeah, so I grew up in Newbury Park, California, kind of near Malibu, that area.
Yeah.
Always played sports from a very young age on. I guess kind of early on realized that baseball was my sport. I was kind of a late bloomer, so I was a short white guy. I only had so many options. I knew I wanted to play sports in college.
Right.
And baseball was the best option. So focused a lot of my time and energy on baseball. I had a decent ability to play it from an early age, and then just kind of carried that and up and through high school and then into college.
So when you kind of realized baseball is the path that I want to take, was it 8th grade or was it freshman year?
Freshman year of high school was all right, baseball. A lot of coaches like to narrow you down in high school because they don't want you playing multiple sports. Freshman year was yeah, baseball is it. All the other sports, I'll play them for fun, but not for the school. Yeah.
If you, besides baseball, what was a sport that you could see potentially you might have been able to play at a collegiate level?
I think it would have been hockey. Early on, I played a lot of hockey. When I was 7, 8 years old, I was playing with guys who were 10.
Really?
So I could skate before I could walk.
And
there's literally pictures of me as a kid with skates on, skating before I could even walk. What? Yeah.
And this is all in Newbury Park? Or
yeah.
So, okay, yeah, from an area there was no skating rink or ice rink or anything within 100 plus miles probably. So was it pretty relevant, high school and stuff?
We had high school clubs and stuff. Uh-huh. But there's travel teams and stuff. There's enough rinks around to where you were capable of playing. But yeah, I stopped playing because it was so expensive at a young age. But I know just from how my ability at a young age, right, that probably would have been the other one that I could have played. It's super fun. I still, to this day, it's one of my favorite sports.
For the record, I can't skate. I've never even attempted to.
It's very unnatural.
Yeah. Okay, so moving forward past high school, or actually moving into your senior year, when was the deciding factor? Because I'm sure me, you probably went to 1,000 baseball camps because you're at the same baseball camp as me. It had to be November, December, right before Christmas. I remember because I didn't want to go, but I still didn't have a school lined up. And so right in, I want to say, December 20th, we were both at that camp. So obviously you didn't have a school lined up. Were there other schools that you were kind of talking to as well as USD?
Yeah, so I had other options, and I had a few offers Butler, Fresno State. I was talking to some other schools too.
Fresno
So
State.
I had options, but none of them really felt the right place to go. I mean, Butler was a really good scholarship, but they're not a baseball school.
Right.
And it's really cold, and I know I probably wouldn't play well when it's cold for the majority of the year. So I was still kind of shopping around to see what my options were.
And then right after that baseball camp, was it pretty close after the holidays?
Yeah, it was. I think it would have been right before Christmas, I think, that they called me, and then I took 2 or 3 days, maybe a day, to think about it.
Yeah.
And then I called them back, and I was yeah.
It's USD, yeah. You're
yeah,
hey, give me a second.
I was I love it.
That's definitely one of the biggest feelings of relief, knowing that you're
oh yeah,
okay, I'm locked in. And at the time, for anybody who's not necessarily into sports out there, being a high school athlete, the first goal, obviously, we all want to get drafted and go to the pros and stuff like that, but my main goal was, I was locked in and focused on only D1 schools. I was I'm not going to anything that's not D1. So I don't know if that's a bad thing, because
I mean, it's your goal. Anyone that plays high school or that has a little bit of self-awareness for their ability, if you think that you can go play D1, then D1 is the destination. That's where you want to go. That's where the best talent is. Everyone wants to play professionally, so that's the road.
Well, and also if you have like, let's say scholarships from D2s, you know, if a D2 offer you like, you know, 90% or a full ride, compared to if USD calls you and says like, hey, we'll give you 5% or 10%, or we'll give you, which in my case, I had like no scholarship. It was literally, you got a spot on the roster if you verbally commit over the phone. I was like, yeah, like it's a no-brainer. Do you think to the younger audience out there that their goal should only be Division I athletics?
No, so I mean, I would say don't discount anybody. Junior college, D2, NAIA. Those are all really good options and really good places. I mean, can't tell you how many people in pro ball went to an NAIA or a D2 or a low-level D1. Like, don't narrow your field just because you think that you have to go to a elite D1 program. You don't. Right. If you have the capability, then absolutely, like, yeah, duh, that's the way to go.
Obviously.
But, like, it's not a bad thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with loving a game, going to play it at college, and getting a good education.
Right.
From a really good school. Yeah. Who cares if it's D2?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think that is something that a lot of people get focused and narrow-minded, especially with people kind of like us. Like, you know, that's kind of been our focus for long periods of time, like D1. But then, you know, it probably tops it off, makes it a little bit more easy to make the decision to go when it's USD and they have a prestigious academic program and the campus is gorgeous. And
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's definitely a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was no-brainer for me.
Yeah, it was just the best situation for me, period. I wanted to play professional baseball, and I knew that it was a really good program. I knew that if I could start there and play there, then I'd have a good shot. If I couldn't start and play at USD, then that's fine. I would have had a great education, and then pro ball wasn't for me. I wasn't good enough, which is totally fine with me.
Or, you know, there's always the option too, like you could have potentially transferred if you wanted, like, because for some people, if they don't play, they go to a different school. I think education should be priority. You know, you're a student athlete for a reason. You're not an athlete student, and that's something that we joked about all the time. Now we're like, okay, now we get it because now we're in the real world. At the time, it almost felt like we were athlete student.
We were. No matter how you spin it, athletes takes precedent over school when you're going to school for athletics. Can you still do well in school? 100% absolutely. It's just going to take a little bit of sacrifice.
Right. And they do a really good job of making sure you have tutors, you have all the help you need, extra study hours. They would force us to go to study hall like freshman year, 8 or 10 hours a week at least. I don't know. But yeah, so great experience. Any regrets at all about that decision?
No. I mean, based on like the friends that I have, the experiences I had, being able to live in this amazing city for 4 years of my life, and it gave me the opportunity to play professional baseball. I mean, I couldn't regret a single thing about it.
And that's actually a good segue, because I don't want to talk too much about like the college experience, kind of pushing forward to that draft day, because we did the whole season thing. You know, we played games, but after that I did my own thing, and then the draft was in like June. So walk me through that experience as far as getting to that point. And I know you've had like some injuries and adversity throughout that time, but take us to the time where it was draft day and like maybe like a couple days before, your thoughts going into that.
So from the time school ended, we graduated beginning of May, and then basically had a month. And so during that month, I went to workouts at Petco Park and with other with the Astros and other teams and stuff like that, where you have like a workout with 15 other guys or whatever, and you do like all the typical showcase stuff. But leading up to it, I mean, I was a little nerve-wracking. I felt like I didn't have the season I wanted, or the season I could have had, but I felt like I was in a good place, and I realized that if I wanted to, I had the chance to play. I was going to get drafted. Whether it was the last pick of the draft, I knew a team would have grabbed me. The only issue was like the money thing, because I wanted to sign for a certain amount of money to make it worth it.
You didn't want to sign for a pack of cigarettes and a plane flight.
Yeah, I didn't want to sign for $1,000 just because for me at that point, I could have gone to graduate school and gotten a master's. Like I value that more than signing for $1,000 and playing professional baseball.
That's kind of like why we were talking over at lunch today about your negotiation process with them and with a couple different teams. It wasn't just like, I just want to get drafted. You know, I just want to give me an opportunity. I'll force my way into the major leagues. You were like, no, if it's not going to be this specific amount of money or like to where I can financially support myself for a while, then I'm going to, you know, pursue a master's degree.
Well, yeah, because what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of seniors get drafted the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round, and they get offered $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. People think they hear, oh, you got drafted in the 7th round. They're like, wow, it's amazing.
Good money,
yeah,
right?
Good money. No shot. Like if you were a senior, you're getting offered $10,000 probably.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I could go get my graduate degree, play my last year of eligibility out, and still get that amount of money if I still wanted to play. So I was always, from the very beginning, I saw it as a two-pronged thing where like, yes, I love baseball, and Major League Baseball, professional baseball is the dream, but I have a lot more to offer, and the education part is so important.
And so, speaking on a little education, what did you major in? Did you minor in anything?
Yeah, so I majored in psychology, and I minored in English. I didn't get the minor because I was like a unit short, but I took all the classes. So like I took a ton of like English literature classes and then psych.
Okay, right on. And did you choose that early on? Because I know a lot of people going into college, you know, especially as an athlete, I didn't know what I was like thinking about kinesiology, and then I ended up majoring in communication studies because it was broad, and I liked public speaking and I liked writing kind of. Basically, I thought I could do a lot of things with the communication degree.
Yeah.
Did you know going in like what you wanted to major in, or did it take a little while before you actually thought, okay, I want to be a psych major?
Yeah, not going into college. Going into college, I loved history. And so I was like, oh, I'll major in history. I love it.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah, and then my dad's like, the only thing you can do with history is teach history. And I was like, that's a really good point.
Be a college.
So I made my elective classes history classes. But I was always fascinated with the way people like thought and why they did certain things and why they interacted with people in certain ways. And I realized that like in order to be like an effective leader, especially on the team and in life, it would help to know why people do certain things and what's going on in their head. So I was like, okay, let's do psych. My oldest sister is a children family therapist. So like I kind of already had a little background in it. And so I was really interested in it. And so I was like, yeah, let's do that. I don't care like what that applies to after college. I just am really interested in it.
Yeah, and you'll figure out something to do along those lines. Even if you don't do anything with your job after college, it doesn't really matter. Like just knowing that and having that information is so important in like today's world, because
most jobs nowadays you don't need a specific, unless it's some sort of science. You just need the proof that you graduated.
Right, the degree.
Most jobs take training anyways, so people care more about your character than what your degree was actually in.
Yeah, and that's so true, because honestly, I haven't even had one job ask me, like in the past couple, I've had like two or three jobs out of college that no one even asked me if I had a college degree.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, like, you guys want to see it? Like I got proof of it, like here's my diploma. Now it just sits on my desk in my room, and I'm like looking at it every day like, oh, they were good experiences, like it was a fun time.
Yeah.
But okay.
But at the end of the day, it is just a piece of paper.
Yeah, it really is. And I've talked to Adam about this. I'm joking. Like, I'm always making fun of how I'm going to do a YouTube video in the future about, like, ripping my paper in half or, like, throwing it somewhere, like, off of the building.
Just throw it off the balcony.
Yeah, for some clickbait, for a nice little thumbnail.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about your short-term goals as well as your long-term goals, because you recently started the podcast, which I think is a great thing to do. You know, you're already a step ahead of me, a step ahead of a lot of people. Not many people are jumping into the podcast space yet. I think it's gonna jump on, like, I think a bunch of people jumped on YouTube, and it's still, I don't think it's saturated at all. People still grow fast, and people are getting better and better at making videos, but I think the podcast thing is something pretty cool, because people think, oh, I don't want to do a podcast. Like, people like, what am I just gonna like listen to this in the car? So you don't think it's like as easy maybe to get views like necessarily like a YouTube platform. So what made you dive into the podcast space instead of YouTube like right away? Yeah,
so I kind of realized that. I realized that a lot of my friends and myself were consuming a lot of podcasts. And to me, I just noticed this trend that instead of going and watching videos, or instead of reading a book, you can literally listen to a podcast that's an hour long and have someone that wrote this book come and share like their thoughts about like what they wrote about and everything. Right. And you now have a very like full understanding of like their purpose for writing, or like their thoughts and their ideas. And you just listen to it for an hour. You listen to them talk. You can take notes if you want, but you don't have to sit down and read a 300-page book. You can have someone just share it in 45 minutes. And I think that's such like an effective way to produce and consume content. And for me personally, I feel like through my experiences, and I love reading and studying stuff, I think I have a lot of knowledge that I could contribute and that people would think is valuable to listen to.
Right. And I, out of all the people that I know, I think that you're a great example of doing a podcast because you have so much experience on not just like successes in your life, but the failures as well, the struggles.
Painful failures.
Yeah. And we all have them. And, you know, without failures, it makes the highs way more worth it. You know, and one thing that people are always talking about, and we were talking about this earlier as well, I think so many people are like in this day and age, you know, focus on like positivity, and that's, you know, something that I promote very, very often. It's like positivity, you know, try to keep, you know, a good mindset. But one thing is you can't have highs without like lows. You can't just consistently be riding a high. There's got to be some lows. So it's good to understand that side, negative depression. Like I know on one of your podcasts you were talking with a fellow teammate of ours, and he got pretty deep. Yeah, that's very true as far as like identity and where you're at after, you know, your college career. So with the podcast, what are you trying to get out to the community, and what do you want this to like evolve into over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so I mean, I titled it the Real Successful Podcast, and real success is bold, isn't it, right? So it's just kind of finding what real success looks like, because for so many of us it's such a dichotomy where it's like success is this, and if it's not that, then everything else is failure. And it doesn't pay to believe in that sort of system. It doesn't pay to believe that all of our experiences are some sorts of failure on our way to a eventual success, because once you get to that success, like, where do you go from there? It's not, there's no end point in life. You move on to the next day, you wake up the next day, and it's like, okay, I'm still on my journey. So like, what was I doing that whole time anyways? What was I sacrificing to reach this arbitrary success that I set up for myself? And that's basically what the message I want to preach is, that everybody has these little versions of success that are relative to them, and just living a cool life and being a really genuine person is in and of itself a successful life. It has nothing to do with the money in your bank account, the car you drive, where you live. It's literally every little action that adds up throughout the day that makes your life successful. Yeah,
and so many people, like you said, like I want to go back on and touch on that thing that you just were just saying, that there's no destination. So many people, and even I've still been like learning this, you know, there's no specific destination. When you get to a certain place in your life, or you get that car, or you get that place, you know, or you get that girl or guy, it's almost like you think that when you get that specific material object or person
then
or
I'll
thing,
be happy.
Then that's when I'm going to be at my maximum happiness.
Yeah.
That's something that I think is so psychological and so far past, you know, what people think about. Because people go through life and I feel like don't have a purpose, and they have a hard time finding identity because they get caught in the rut of the everyday life and just kind of going through the work and, you know, the ebb and the flow of the regular human being.
I mean, it's such a popular thing nowadays. You know, I got my head down, I'm grinding to get to a certain point.
Gary Vee.
And it's like, Gary Vee's killing it.
He is.
And what he preaches is amazing. But you can grind with your head up.
Yeah.
Work your butt off, but experience life.
Enjoy.
Don't neglect friends, or neglect night outs with friends, or neglect relationships, or say it's not the right time, like I need to wait until I'm solidified. Don't do that. You're robbing yourself of real success and like an actual life of purpose, and one that you want to live.
Yeah, that is a great analogy, because Gary, amazing person, killing it right now. He's crushing it in life. I know he, you know, still he's on a good relationship with his wife, with his kids.
Yeah.
Apparently he only sees his kids like on the weekends, which is pretty gnarly, you know, 5 days a week he doesn't see them. But he is such a promoter of talking about, I don't know if 20, he said literally like he worked every day of his 20s. 20 to 30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like I work a lot too, but enjoy the life, you know, enjoy the climb, enjoy the grind. Adam and I are always talking about that. Enjoy the grind, embrace it. It's something we talked about at, you know, USD. It's really hard at some times to embrace the grind and the failure and the struggles, but it's those things that shape you and make the successes that much better.
And I think for a person like Gary Vee, he's a very rare animal where he loves to work. So for him, working 7 days a week, he is loving it. Like he is out there moving, shaking, talking to people, making deals, all that stuff. Like that to him is living his best life. Like that's not how I'm wired, and we're all wired differently. That's the whole point. Is success is different for everybody. Right. For him, it's grinding like that. For me, it's having days where I go take vacations, or I just hang out with friends, or don't do anything, you know?
Yeah, I think people will go, you know, mad, like especially me, just from a personal standpoint. I can't physically, like I will put my head down and, you know, okay, I've got to film, I've got to edit these next couple days, I've got to do this, I got to do that, you know, not just with me, but with other things, you know, helping other people's businesses grow.
Yeah.
And I can do that for a certain amount of time, but after, you know, 3 or 4 days, I'll just get like burned out. And I love working, you know, I love the grind. I love always seeing progress. But there comes a time in your life where you need to like let loose, relax, and then refocus back up.
Sure.
And so, like you said, yeah, Gary really enjoys the grind, and that to him is like living his best life, enjoying everything. Where Gary is, I think he's very influential to a younger audience, especially the come up of these younger next generation, kind of setting the standard of like, if you guys aren't doing what I'm doing, then you are not successful, or you're not going to be successful in the future. So I think Gary is most of the time speaking, you know, truth, but at the same time, it's like he's not necessarily a great example as lifestyle wise because he works so much. And I think it's hard to have relationships, you know, strong relationships when you work that much. But not throwing any shade on Gary. I think Gary's a great guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so going forward, Colton, as far as the podcast goes, bringing it back in, are there any people in specifics that you want to get on there that are going to, you know, potentially Gary Vee or some of these big names, Ed Milet? Do you see it going like pretty big in the near future?
I mean, I can hope. I mean, I think I have good connections and I know people with really amazing stories. I mean, everyone out there has a story of some kind, right? But in order to like get some traction with your podcast, you need to have people on there that have some sort of following to where people will want to listen in, because I'm not myself interesting enough to have enough people listen.
That's debatable.
Well, not enough people know about me, so like yeah, exactly. So it's like at the beginning I need to draw people from other communities, right? And like the third episode I recorded with Logan Gelbrick, and he's killing it. He is, and he has such an amazing following. And he was amazing to have on the podcast, and that conversation was amazing. But I'm just going to keep interviewing friends and people doing really cool stuff. While I'm down here, I'm going to interview one of the guys who's like one of the head trainers over at WEC Method HQ. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have not, no.
The guy that designed the Bosu ball.
David
WEC.
He came, didn't he come to one of our
He came to
practices?
USC, So he has like this whole like training thing, and he's doing really cool stuff with like fitness for like people who are pregnant, women who are pregnant. Okay. And just like, that's cool. People are doing interesting things. Yeah. That's all I want to find. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's awesome. Moving forward, do you have anything that you're like working on besides the podcast? Because podcast is obviously great, something that I need to jump on. Do we see a near YouTube channel coming in the future? Do we see a brand? You gonna drop some merch on us? You gonna start a movement? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that you can do.
Yeah, there's
and tie in with the podcast.
Yeah, and I'm kind of new to it. Like I told you, like all this stuff I had to teach myself from watching YouTube videos. Yeah. And
I think that's how we all learn for the most part.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to film it and put it on YouTube, right? And it only makes sense so people can see who's actually talking. So yeah, YouTube channel, absolutely. I mean, if it ever gets to a point where people like would wear shirts with like the name of my podcast or something on it, like
that'd be pretty sweet.
That'd be sweet. Like that's dope. Yeah. And if there's ever people that like mention stuff like that, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that. All I'm doing right now is building my personal brand.
That's a great place to start, honestly. Yeah. And I think you're doing an awesome job of it. Not to, get this too lengthy, I want you to give the audience right now watching some advice as far as how to handle failures. Because, I mean, you've had failures. Everybody has, obviously. What would you tell them to kind of push past that or motivate them?
Yeah, I mean, I put It's on my Instagram bio. It says lover of failure. And I truly mean that. I mean, you learn so much from failure, and people don't take failure out of your vocabulary. Yeah. No, put it in the front of your vocabulary.
It should be.
You know?
Yeah.
Think about it actively. Wow, I just failed. I just crashed and burned. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Who cares? Because the thing is no matter what you're doing, whether you're starting a podcast or a business or a YouTube channel, whatever it is, people pick up. We are humans at the end of the day. People pick up on genuineness, honesty. They can tell when you're really passionate about something, and they can tell when you really care. Right. Versus when you're just trying to sell something or it doesn't seem genuine.
Oh yeah, that doesn't work. People are smart. People are so smart now, and they're getting better and better and better at recognizing, authenticity in YouTubers or people that are just trying to plug something. It's very easy to recognize that in this day and age.
Well, yeah, and you can tell if someone's trying to do it for the money or not. For me, I wanted to start the podcast because it felt very purposeful for me to spread the message and spread other people's message through that channel. Now, granted, I need to make money from it in order to sustain me putting a bunch of time and effort into it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how business works in general, obviously. Right. But the roots of it are very purposeful and genuine.
It's not because you started a podcast to be like, okay,
how can I make money?
I need to make a lot of money.
Let me start a podcast.
Because that's a very hard way. And for people that know about YouTube or have a YouTube channel, people that start YouTube channels to make money, it is very difficult, let me tell you, to make money.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a great, sustainable, long-term business. It's very up and down. I was monetized a few months ago, and so I've been able to see how much money, along the way that I've made, and it's not a great amount. So you have to get lots of views, and same, I'm sure, with the podcast, right? You have to get sponsors, you have to get a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So anyone I think that would even think to start a podcast or YouTube channel or a business for specifically the money, they're doing it for the wrong reason, and they're going to fail. So when you start something because you love it and you're genuine about it, then it just makes it even better when you actually do make money.
Yeah. And when you fail at something that you love doing, it doesn't feel like failure, right? So I loved baseball, and ultimately I failed at my overarching goal to make it to the major leagues. I played in professional baseball, which is better than a lot of people. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, I ultimately failed that goal, but I loved playing baseball, so I don't feel like a failure.
No.
I look at that experience and I'm like, look at all the information and knowledge that I gained from my experiences.
Relationships along the way that you made.
Everything.
Unreal.
So valuable. It's not a failure because I love doing it.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that, because not necessarily did I fail a whole bunch. When I did play, I definitely had my failures, I had my successes.
Yeah.
I played my sophomore year. Following year, I thought if I get enough innings, might have a shot at getting drafted. Obviously, that was the higher goal, but didn't play enough. But I learned from that, because if I would have just had everything handed to me on a cookie platter like high school, I wouldn't have grown. And so it's literally the failures that have made me grow rather than the successes in life.
Exactly. I mean, you gotta look for the failures. If you're not failing, you're not doing it right.
Exactly.
You're not pushing yourself to that max that's going to cause yourself to fail. When we're failing means we're doing something right. Mm-hmm. If you're living just safe and you're in your own little cocoon, you're not living a life that I require from you.
Right.
No offense, but I require you to live your best life. Yeah. I do, because you're living in this life with me. You're in this space. I want the best version of you. I don't want some half-assed version of you. I want the best. I deserve that from you, and you deserve it from me. That's how we're supposed to interact.
It's like accountability.
Yeah.
I think it's really rare to find that in today's world, today's society. And I mean, living with Adam, we kind of bring that out of each other. We're very competitive. Yeah. And I think that's what you need to have in life, and surround yourself with people that are going to make you better. They're going to force you to bring the best out of yourself, because sometimes we're just very timid. Like you said, you're in your own cocoon and you're having a hard time growing as an individual yourself. Sometimes you have to have other people point that out, and you're like, look, man, you can be better. I see this potential in you, and you're the one that has to make the decision to take those steps to being a better human being.
Rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, exactly.
There it is.
I love that quote. That is good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you think that you want to talk about?
No, I think we hit on a lot of good stuff.
We did.
Yeah, I mean, success, the failures, the podcast, baseball, life. I really just want people to look at themselves in the mirror and see the better version that they can be, and then just find something that brings that out in you. Whether it's your work, whether it's a significant other, whether it's your friends, your community, find a better way to live your life. If it ain't broke, break it, then fix it. Life is all about changing and evolving. If you're not changing and evolving, you're not doing it right. So people always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's like, no, if it ain't broke, break the damn thing and then fix it. Become a better version. Level yourself up continually, and everyone starts interacting better. Your community gets lifted up. Everything just becomes brighter in your life. Yeah.
Okay, so I really want to thank you, Colton, for taking the time to setting aside a couple hours to hang out with us today, and especially sit down and do this little interview / chit chat. So thank you, Colton, for dropping by. If you guys want to connect with him, I will drop his stuff down below in the description. If you guys want to check out his podcast, he's got some great people on there, and he's gonna be dropping more podcasts in the near future. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video. If you guys happen to like this video, drop a like. It always is appreciated. If you guys want to engage in the comment section below, do that as well. And if you guys have not already, don't forget to drop a subscribe. We are dropping content every single week on this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.
That was sick, bro. That was sick.